All right, buddy. You have any questions?
How close? Are we directional or how close?
Yeah, we're pretty close.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. Welcome to the podcast. This is it, man. Episode.
Open the door though a little bit.
Number 20. You got a lot of things happening behind the scenes here as we're getting this
it's already
podcast
getting a little
started.
hot. I get a little. It's a little hot. Isn't it?
It's pretty sweating.
I love it.
No.
Are you getting warm?
Just kidding, you're not.
Am I?
I mean, I know I'm super cute, but it's fine.
And you smell good too. I mean, that was like, I think they might have kicked me up a couple degrees, to be honest with you.
You know that we're recorded already, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Is
Oh,
everybody
we've
good?
started. Okay.
We've officially started. Welcome to episode 20 of Move the Needle. I'm so jacked for you to be here.
Isn't this crazy?
And I'm so jacked to watch.
So we hold on. We gotta pause. We gotta tell people what the hell's going on. So I'm Mathew. You're Steve.
Yes.
This is Priscilla from iHeartRadio. She does a morning show at Mix 96.9, and I know that because we worked together for a decade.
A decade.
A decade.
So that was the question. That's the answer to the question.
Which
a decade.
question? How long?
Decade. 10
a
years.
decade.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if it was all like 365 days of all 10 years, but it was damn close.
No, it pretty much was. I mean, I was like 11 when I started, you know.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I was
You were
a babe.
right
I
out
was
of
a spring
high
chicken.
school, yeah.
Basically.
Yeah,
I think
no.
I was like 22 or something
That's
like that.
weird.
Gosh,
I was
were you that
so
young?
Yeah.
Wow.
I started at Mix in 2011. So what was that, like 14 years ago? Oh my God. It's
Isn't
fine.
it wild?
It is crazy.
Yeah.
Because
So nuts.
when she started with me, obviously she was brand new. She had never done that job before in her life. Mm-hmm. And I mean, year after year, she built, I think up her own confidence and her own reputation and all of those things. And now you look back on it, man, and now you're the veteran.
Am I? You know what's so crazy? It doesn't feel like it, and I don't know if that feels like it for you. I still feel like a teen mom. I still feel like I'm 19 and like just figuring life out.
Sure.
I mean, obviously I have a lot more experience now, but I still feel like
Well, it's
that.
good that you still look 19. So
thanks.
that's good.
Stop.
But
It's the skin regimen, man.
it is. But I'm sitting here intrigued because obviously my pathway is very similar. I did not have a traditional background. I was in print media and a little social media, but did not come from this. So I'm definitely new to this format.
Okay.
And so, yes, you. When I look at you, you are definitely the experienced one. So sitting here next to you guys, I just. For 10 years, what was that? I want to know, my big question is, what was that like day in, day out? How was the grind? What kept you guys going? Is it your both sense of humor? What keeps you going every day?
I want you to answer first, but I also, before she answers, I want to say I think this is the first time we've shared a microphone since I left.
Since our last show, yeah,
December
which is
9th,
crazy.
2021.
Wow, that was what, 3 years ago? Yeah, you're
3
right.
3 years in a month.
I think the thing with radio, and I think Mathew, you can agree because we talked about this a lot, is that it was almost therapeutic. Like anything that happened in the outside world, like once that door shut, it was like what was happening in that room over the airways with our listeners. I can't think of a day, even on our worst day, I can't think of a day where we didn't laugh. Like there was always something funny happening, some joke said, something just going on. So I think that's what like kept that excitement in that career and just the journey going.
The humorous energy.
Yeah,
well,
for sure.
and she's just good, right? And I was just good. And the two of us together were just lethal for a long time. And it was one of those things where she nailed it. And I've always said this, man, for 5 hours, nothing else in the entire world mattered. It was just about what was going on between the speakers. And even if there were like those lulls or tense spots off the air, man, like when the light went on, it was like we both were there to make magic.
Okay,
and
nice.
that's special, man. I had many co-hosts over the years, but I only had one that lasted 10 years.
Yeah.
The only one that put up with it.
No, that's exactly right, man.
As I sit here a few months
She has
in,
a
sitting
high
there,
pain tolerance. Yeah.
as I sit here a few months in, just sitting here, eyes wide open. No, I love the leadership. I mean, Mathew talked about this. From my sports background, I'm more comfortable with, again, from my hockey background, with somebody on my line that's better, that can lead the way. So for me, this format's been natural in that sense, because Mathew's been able to really get the conversation flowing. So, and very, I really appreciate his humor too. So I imagine you must have equal sense of humor.
I'm way funnier than
Way
he is,
funnier.
yeah.
Okay.
She's got a great sense of humor.
I think I have a wit. Like a certain wit.
Well, that's what I think draws
Yeah.
us to each other, because
Yeah.
we're both kind of quick. We both like, we're both.
Where'd you get your wit
too.
from?
Trauma.
Same place.
Most people,
Yeah. Trauma USA.
Did you guys bond from?
No, I think
We went back several times.
throwed it back to you. No,
But no, that is an important thing. Let me just interject. That's to me was the coolest thing about radio, because both of us went through some really heavy shit over 10 years.
Yeah.
But man,
You'd have to.
The ability to come in and the job be to talk about your life, and the job be to get it off your chest. Like, our radio audience was our therapist for so many years.
Yeah, I think with radio, you have to have a level of vulnerability that I don't even think people understand. And once you have mastered that, it almost feels like a superpower, because what are you gonna do to me? Not that I haven't already told the entire world. Please, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or even just knowing that you have already laid out everything. You don't have anything to hide. There's no anxiety or stress over it. So just everything kind of leaves that, you know what I mean? So it's super cool.
So I want to know, how have you enjoyed the shift to it being the Priscilla show, and what was that like for a while?
Well, with the shift of the Priscilla show comes, I think, the shift in radio too. So I think that has been, I'm always up for a challenge. So it has been an adjustment, but kind of in the best way. I am somebody that is like a sink or swim, throw me into the pool and I'll figure out how to swim, right? That's how I've always learned the best. So I actually think that I'm in an environment right now where I'm hands-on, I'm doing things I've never done before. Even if it might be a learning curve, it is cool new challenges that I may not have experienced before, that I'm kind of down for it. And I think my way to kind of get through it is just as long as I'm not stuck to an outcome and I'm not stuck to what I think has to happen, I'll be able to figure something out. So it's been pretty cool.
How is your family? I mean, you talk about them all the time on the radio. I know, this dream of a man, Michael, who found you in a Las Vegas hotel room all those years ago. You guys were still grinding.
It wasn't a hotel room, it was a hallway.
But you were staying at the hotel, no?
I was, but we didn't even hang out. Don't put me out there like
So Priscilla just left the door open and said, "Come on in,
it was
anybody."
the hallway.
Let me tell you our serendipitous, magical story.
Please.
Before you turn me into a you know what.
Prostitute. I'm sorry.
Okay.
All right.
So what happened was I went to Vegas for...
Hold on. Cue music. And go.
No, I went to Vegas. I went to Vegas for a girls' bachelorette party.
Oh.
No, don't. You see? You're already going there. Okay.
Why do you think I let her tell the story? Because I know she'll just do it to herself.
I know. So,
Yeah.
okay, we went to Vegas for a girls' bachelorette party. There was a scavenger hunt, and the more points you got, the more you won, whatever. I'm competitive, and the number one thing on the list for whatever reason was find a guy wearing a bow tie. And I was like, all right, I got this. I'm going to find the guy, blah, blah, blah. So we are leaving our hotel room to go out and venture into the city, and this group of guys are coming back to their hotel room. What do you know? One of the guys has a bow tie, happens to be my future husband, and he's plastered. He doesn't even know what's going on. And so I take advantage of that very respectfully. And I tell him,
can you tell more about that?
Hold on. I tell him, I was like, I need a picture with the guy with a bow tie. And he's like, sure, why not, right? I don't know if this guy has a girlfriend, a wife, whatever. So I take a picture with him, boom, got my points. Next thing on the list was make a guy or have a guy upload a picture of you to his social media. Because he has no idea what's going on, I convince him to upload that picture to his Instagram, and the caption says, future wife in Vegas, blah, blah, blah. That was it. Literally, we walked away from each other. It was like a 3-minute exchange. He went about his night. I went out with my girlfriends. It was over. The next morning, he looks at his phone and he's like, what the heck? Like, who is this girl? And he texts the number that I text the phone from. And
Okay, made sure you got the digits.
well, no, he was like, who's this? Who is this weirdo? Did
What
you do this?
happened last night?
And then I was like, haha, scavenger hunt, blah, blah. And then he's like, cool, like, glad you guys got your points. And then he's like, by the way, do you have any Tylenol? And I'm like, yeah, but me and my girlfriends are already leaving for the weekend. And he's like, well, we're downstairs. And I'm like, I'll leave it at your door. What room are you in? And he told me what room he's in. I left the Tylenol there with a note, which I still have, that says, can't wait to fall in love, XOXO, thinking I'm literally never going to see this guy again. And then fast forward, he texts me like 2 weeks later. We start long distance dating for 2 months. He comes to visit, game over. And that was 11 years ago.
11 years. So people say things aren't meant to be. And if you have to believe in that when you hear stuff like that, because
100%.
you would have never met him. The chances of actually like seeing that human being in the same proximity are near zero, right? I mean,
You'd watch that movie.
I know I didn't.
Yeah, you'd watch that
Well, I
movie.
mean, it's just, it's amazing. And I know, interesting enough, I did read, so he doesn't share your same heritage. So is that
He's a
correct?
white man?
He's a white
Yeah.
man. So you guys must have some really, really interesting, because me being an Italian, I also married a white woman before. And so I know the traditions that there's probably some funny translations.
But Michael's all in.
I was gonna say, my husband grew up in Bakersfield. Like that's
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
okay.
brown as
So that's not even that doesn't even
No.
count.
so it doesn't phase it.
He's a-
No-
yeah.
oh my
Doesn't
gosh.
even, you don't even
Yeah.
think of it. It's not
Well,
even on the
so-
radar.
It's
Yeah.
not even that. Is that like outside of my culture and outside of that piece of it, I'm just like a big personality, a big person, a loud person, like assertive, like I'm all the things. And my husband has an ability to navigate that very confidently. Like he is the most like quiet, confident man you'll ever meet. He just has like a chill like vibe that gives me space to be like, Priscilla, you know what I mean? So it's pretty cool.
That's amazing.
On
Great
your
story.
culture, the community comadres.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about that. Where are you with it?
Oh my gosh. So I've always been in the Latina space. I mean, you remember Adelante Mami was like 7 years ago. And then I went on to start my own nonprofit called Community Comadres. Basically, our tagline is we give back to the community while giving. We build community while giving back to the community, and we just create volunteer opportunities, resources, and fundraising for women that want to give back, and then also provide like friendship and abilities for them to connect to other women.
Give me an example of an event.
So, for example, my community quinceañera. So, it is. You know what a quinceañera is?
Yes.
Okay.
I do.
It's basically a girl's rite of passage when she's a Latina. She turns 15. Not everybody can afford that opportunity or having that kind of celebration, right? So, our organization puts on this huge gala where we nominate a girl that is deserving a quinceañera, and we gift that to her that the community is welcome to, and then we also fundraise for her to go to college. So last year we had a young woman, her name was Bella, and she got a quinceañera that we had over 400 guests attend, and they all fundraised for her to go to college. So that's like one example.
Are you proud of
Beautiful.
where it's at right now?
Yes, and I'm like excitedly overwhelmed. I'm like, I girl boss too close to the sun, if you know what that means. I'm like, did I just start a whole nonprofit by myself?
What do you need? Like, we sit down with lots of nonprofits on this podcast, and one of the questions I have a tendency to ask is, what's the pain point? What is the thing that you need to get to the next place? Money, manpower?
We're so lucky. I have a board of 11 women, and they are incredible. I'm truly, honestly, I would not be able to be where our organization is without them. But yeah, fundraising, we're doing sponsorship packages right now. Our quinceañera is in September, so we're really excited about that. This year, we're going to have 3 girls instead of 1, so more girls to give back to. I know.
So you're ramping it up.
Yeah. Are you guys going to go? Have you ever been to a quinceañera?
I have not. That I have not been.
You've been to one.
I've never been invited to one, so
Oh my gosh, you guys have to come to the community.
I mean, it
quinceañera.
sounds like a lot of fun.
They're fun, right? They're like a big party, right?
Oh my gosh, it's the best. You dress up like black tie event. You have mariachis. You have like a whole like court and dance. She's like, I mean, it's incredible. You have folklorico dancers. It's
Is
amazing.
Jack still doing the folklorico?
My
Folklorico? I have a little bit of a dry mouth right now because I'm nervous.
Yeah, that's why you couldn't pronounce it. The dry mouth. Yeah.
Folklorico.
Folklorico. Yes, both my daughters do folklorico. They're very proud of our culture, which is really exciting to me because Jack's. She has a white dad, but she loves being Mexican. Like that's her proudest point. She's in Spanish immersion program. She's learning how to speak Spanish. She loves going to folklorico. So it's like awesome to see my girls carry on that pride, you know?
No, I love the mixed culture. It's beautiful. They
Yeah.
do, and we do the same thing. Again, like Italian, really traditional family stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
we have our own little things going on for sure.
Yeah.
I
What
get
else
it.
is on your hotbed of questions over there? Because I could talk to Priscilla all day about anything.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, let's
really,
go.
it's more of my questions was about like your guys' experience, because as I sit here and I'm going through the same things, like again, like driving here, I've learned to kind of shut the day off. Because you have to, whatever's going on, and kind of concentrate on the task. So I'm kind of like more like soaking it in. My questions were more fun, like if you were to dedicate a song to your career. I like stuff like that. Like
that's a good question.
Yeah. So
That's a
what would
good
that be?
question.
I thought you were going to ask me for advice on how to deal with Matthew.
You should ask
we're
that
gonna
question.
get to that at
I'm
the end.
happy
But I'm
to-
already taking notes.
I
can
got
see
10
how
years.
she's already handling it, so I can see. Go ahead.
If I had a song to dedicate to my career, that's such
Wow,
oh my gosh.
I know. What would you
Yeah.
choose?
I wouldn't even say a song to dedicate to my career, but maybe my life, and I think that has
There we go.
stuck by my side. I don't think you'll be surprised by this, but it has literally the lyrics mean nothing. It's more about like just the song
Freak
by my
Me
side.
Baby by Silk.
That.
Rump Shaker by
I
Rex
know.
and Effects.
Fergalicious?
Genuine. No, I love our 90s and 2000s R&B and hip hop, but I would say Mariah Carey Fantasy.
Oh.
Are you surprised?
your song?
No, it's your song.
It is my
That's your
favorite.
song?
If you know me, if anyone knows me, that is my favorite song of all time, and it is like I can think of memories attached to that song each like along the way.
Well, that's what I was looking. That's what I was looking for, and you answered it very well. So that's the song. We got it.
Yeah,
Fantasy,
absolutely.
What
Mariah
else is
Carey.
on the hot sheet over
What else
there,
is on
man?
the hot street? Okay. I'm saying like basically, I was looking for more. I thought there'd be more hilarious moments with the mixed
All right, let's
culture
share the
with
funny
your,
pig.
your husband. And you're saying like he blends in totally fine. I get, but there can't be any like, because he grew up in Bakersfield. I mean, he's already used to it. So I was like, I thought there'd be some like really like lost in translation funny stories.
He's
Like,
so chill.
I know. I mean, he was.
See, I
he's-
don't know. I'm learning.
My
this.
husband's been invited to the carne asada since he was like 4.
Okay.
But
So he's-
I will say this, because of that, my daughter didn't know she was white for the longest time.
That's the funny story.
I remember
Like
this
I
she
guess
still.
that's
forgot, yeah. Like and it's not because like I didn't want her to know that. It's just because we're so like prideful of our culture. She does folklorico. We speak Spanish, all the things. And I remember we were talking about it, and she's like, "Yeah, me, mom, and Lila were Mexican, and Dad, you're white." And I'm like, "Jax, you're also white?" And she's like, "No, I'm not." Like she was almost like, "What do you mean?
Wait a minute.
No, I'm not." And I was are yeah.
So I
Math here.
Yeah.
I actually had the flip flop. So if you met both my kids, both my kids are very white, and so and my daughter at a very young age, maybe preschool, kindergarten, drew the family and like white, and there's Steve, of course, darkened in. I'm like a different shade of everybody, and so she recognized that at a young age. It's kind of interesting. I had the whiteies, I call them. Like,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Blue. Both my kids have blue eyes, white skin.
I mean,
Opposite.
my kids are fair skinned too, and
Fair.
they get the whole "you don't look Mexican," which what does Mexican even look like? Thank
You?
you very much.
Ugh.
Do I? Is that? I mean,
A
oh,
little Latina.
I look Latina.
When you walked in, I knew who you were.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like that's Priscilla.
Yeah.
But mostly from the billboards.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
radio spends a lot of money on these billboards to they
Well,
market
now
the hell out.
now the billboard's called Instagram.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
I
it's
forgot
social
about
media.
that. I forgot about that. What do you still like about waking up in the morning and doing this thing? Are you still challenged? Are you still looking forward to each day?
I think my favorite part of the day is always talking to the listeners. I believe it or not, I even get surprised still. I do get a lot of listeners that still call and like want to participate, and that always feels so good because it's like I don't want to be on the phone. And these people are literally calling me to give an opinion or share something or, say something kind. And it's like really neat that through the years they continue to do that. I actually really like, and this might be an unpopular opinion, but I do love the social media piece of it. I love creating content. I love making videos. I love documenting my life with my kids and my husband. And I know that's not like the traditional part of radio, but I actually really enjoy where it's going,
Well, you can tell you're good at it.
Yeah, it's really
right?
fun.
And your kids get involved, and Lila gets involved. Speaking of, is there going to be a Priscilla Lila podcast?
You know what? She's really wanting to, and I thought about it, and I think we're gonna play around with it and see what that looks like. She's real sassy now, though. She's not the little 12-year-old girl that you remember.
I'm sure.
How old's your daughter now?
She's 19.
Okay, nice.
Which is wild because I'm 19, and I just don't know how that works out.
So I have a
Like,
I have a 19-year-old as well, so I know where you're coming from.
yeah, like
They know a
Help
lot.
me.
They know a lot.
They know more.
Very, very worldly. at
And
that
then
point.
my youngest is 9, and she thinks we're all 19 in our house.
So it's working.
Except for my husband.
And
who's
Michael's
like,
just on
he's
Xannies.
50.
He's just chilling. Yeah.
Michael's just popping pills. Is it done yet? Is it bedtime yet?
Putting headphones on, playing
He's
video
fine. He's fine. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, this was
so much.
fun.
It doesn't have to be over. I mean, we could talk all day if we wanted to, but we do have to end it sometime. But I guess before we end, I always like to
Priscilla's
leave.
like, he promised me we were done by 4:20. It's
what time?
4:23.
Oh, I have time. I told
no,
you.
You're fine.
Yeah.
What do I like to leave with? A little inspiration. So
Okay.
leave our crowd inspired. You talk about your daughter starting a podcast. Again, you did not have a traditional career like myself coming into this. What would you tell others that are doing this? What's your advice?
Be comfortable being uncomfortable. Like, I think that the only reason I am where I'm at anywhere in life in all the areas is because I did things that didn't feel natural. I did things that felt weird. I did things that maybe felt embarrassing initially, but I pushed through anyway. And every decision that felt uncomfortable or scary, on the other side of it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I did that. So
Words of wisdom. I love that.
Yeah, it's solid
Live by that.
advice.
Go for it, right?
go for it. Just
Well,
do it.
and don't you
Be
think too,
yourself.
like, trust people who know what the hell to do, and like get a mentor, like find somebody who can help you stop skinning your knees as much.
For sure,
like that's such a
absolutely.
big thing, and a lot of people don't want to reach out, but you have to. This is where again you have to give
Do you know how I
Priscilla
started
credit.
working with him?
Like she
No.
literally just absorbed it.
Yeah, well,
Greatest gift of my life.
Sorry, Nicole. Well, I have to tell a story on how we started working together real quick. Okay, so I was working at a property management firm as an administrative assistant. Not my jam, not built for me, step outside of my comfort zone. I applied to work in radio as an intern, as a street team member, and I got my foot in the door at iHeart, and I saw all the jocks and the programming side of things, and I was like, ooh, that looks cool, I want to do that, but obviously I have zero experience. And he was looking for a co-host at the time, and I'm like, I'm going to shoot my shot. So I literally sent him, I don't know if I sent you an email. I sent him an email, and I was like, hey, I know you probably don't know me, but I work in the building. I was like, I know you're looking for someone, but while you're looking for someone, like, can I come in and shadow? I'll sweep your floors. I'll do whatever you need. Like, just let me come in and hang out. And he's like, yeah, sure, I could use some help. Like, I don't have anybody. And he let me come in and help and hang out, and that progressed. And then, like, finally, like, you didn't find anybody to fill the spot, and then like a year
Find
later,
anybody better.
there you go.
Make sure you say that part. I couldn't find
she's
anybody
like,
better.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. Like, and then you just kept unraveling.
Yes.
Like that's what people have to understand about Priscilla's career is that it just kept getting better.
Yeah.
It's like a good book, right? It just kept getting better.
Well, just based on her words, she just, to me, like stepped into herself. You were able to, you just I use those words.
She had no
Go
choice.
for
That
it.
was the job,
You
right?
No, you went
Find
for
yourself,
it. I said
go.
I said go for it, and that's what you did.
Oh,
You-
100%.
You know, so that would, again, like for our listeners out there, go for it. I mean, that's the moral of the story. Be who you want to be.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I love that.
I like shoot your shot. That's,
Yeah.
that's
Shoot your
the
shot.
word.
That's what
and
you
be
said.
okay
That was your quote.
missing. It's okay to miss. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've missed. I still am figuring it out
Right.
to this day, and I still feel like it's unraveling, and my career's honestly barely coming. Like the iceberg, you see the tip of it, and I have all this crud down here, but the iceberg's still gonna come up. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, you got like 50 more years to go. I mean, you're just
That's
getting started.
my final question for us. What's next for you? What do you want to keep? You want to keep doing this as long as you can?
I love, somebody asked me the other day what my calling was, and they asked if radio was my calling. And I'm like, I don't know that I'd box it in radio because it's ever evolving. I would say connecting
That's exactly the word I was thinking.
is my calling. So I'm going to connect with people, whatever that looks like for the next however long I'm allowed to keep talking. Yeah.
As long as they keep turning you on.
Yeah. And if
Right?
they're not, I'll talk to my dog. I don't care. I'm just not going to stop talking.
All right. Where do you want people to go to follow the fun?
You can find me on Instagram at Priscilla On Air, or you can tune in every morning at Mix 96.9.
Yeah, .com or through the iHeartRadio
yeah.
app, which I just read via my friend John. I know that they just revamped the app.
Yeah.
It's like now it looks like
It's so
a what?
cool.
It's good.
It's just so good.
You're a
Yes.
thumbs up?
Thumbs up.
Or are you
Go
just
check
being
it
a
out.
company person?
No, I'm
No, it's
always a thumbs up. 2 thumbs up.
She loves it.
It's a contract year. It's a great app.
I have the best.
I use it every day. All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having
Thank
me.
Great
you. I
to
really
hang out
enjoyed
with
this.
you.
Love
Of
sitting-
course.
Yeah. All right. We're
Learning
going to take
all
a
about
quick
this.
break. We have to say thanks to Bella Set Lingerie, Brooklyn V's. They'll do that. And when we come back, we're going to hang out with Louise and talk a little foster care. Hang out.
What makes Bella Set lingerie so unique? For starters, check out the vast selection and size range. Cups from A to K in styles like balcony, plunge, wireless, strapless, and more, including mastectomy and maternity bras. With superior customer service and free professional fittings, it's the go-to bra shop in the East Valley. Locally owned, with 2 locations in Ahwatukee and Gilbert. Check out our glowing reviews on Google and Yelp. Visit bellasetlingerie.com to learn more.
Welcome back, everybody. It is Move the Needle, episode number 20, and we are live at the Kiln today. We didn't even say that in segment 1 because I was so excited to sit down with Priscilla.
And we're in a different spot. So
Yeah.
maybe threw you off a little bit. from
Well,
last
I
time.
don't know. I mean, the Kiln, the thing about the Kiln, and for people that don't know, it's in Gilbert. They have a new one opening up in the Biltmore in February. It's kind of like a shared workspace. But what's unique about this particular place is that you can decorate your office. You can kind of like bust it out and make it look like you want it to. And as you walk around the Kiln, man, it's just incredible. There's just office upon office upon office, and they all look different. They're all doing different things, and it's just, there's a vibe here that's really, really
Good
incredible.
energy, for sure. That's what I said.
That's it. That's it. So anyway, thank you to Priscilla. That was so
That was
fun to visit
fun.
with her, dude.
Fun to see her.
I could have talked to her for 2 more days.
Yeah.
Because I always tell people, and this is one of the things that Priscilla and I talked about a lot when we were on the radio. I said, there's talking to your friends, and there's talking on a radio show where the goal is conversation. And it is a lob, and it's a lob back, and it's a lob, and it's a lob back. And that's a really, that you're learning this right now in
Learning it.
podcasting, dude. It's a really you have to sharpen that axe. That's not an easy thing. Most people are good at talking to each other, but then the camera rolls and they're like, it's good. And it's tough. Yeah. So we're about to break his first podcast chops too.
He
and,
looks like a rookie.
He's gonna be fine. He's gonna be fine.
I don't think so.
Luis, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Matthew.
You serve as the CEO of Friends of Foster Children.
That's right. Yeah, I do have the privilege of leading an incredible team of people that serve our community day in and day out and have done so for over 40 years.
Isn't that incredible? For 40 years. How did Foster start, the organization?
You know, it started with a very simple but powerful idea that being a child shouldn't have to hurt. It was this group of members from the Foster Care Review Board that said, you know, when you're a child in care, you're going through a lot. And so you should be able to experience a moment of joy. But the reality of foster care is that a lot of these children are going through a lot, and because of the financial situation of those kids, there isn't the means for them to be able to go to the field trip, sign up for soccer, go to the museum, do the things that a lot of their friends get to do. So these folks said, let's get together and try to solve that problem. So that's how it started 40 years ago. It's evolved to try to respond to other challenges that kids in the child welfare system experience, but we do good work.
A couple of numbers that I'd like to throw out just to give people a little bit of understanding of, like, I always feel like you have to, what's the score? We got to know the score. We have to know what's on the board, right? So how many kids right now in the foster care system, maybe just here in Arizona?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the numbers often shock individuals. And the number right now, as you and I are having this conversation, and Steve, it's around close to 9,000. And there's even more shocking numbers. Out of those 9,000, about 1,000 of them will age out of the system at the age of 18. And then you also have 1 in 3 of them will end up homeless. 1 in 4 will end up incarcerated by the age of 26. And so those are powerful statistics that doesn't speak about these kids. It speaks about how we as a community fail these kids.
How can we expect them to know better, right? Like they've not had the guidance. And this couldn't be more important and better articulated than through your own personal journey.
I think my own personal journey helps stay anchored, especially because this is a fast-paced, fast-moving job. And one of the things that I actually miss is having that interaction with the young people that we serve. But the truth is that if I'm interacting too often with the children and youth that our programs serve, that means I'm not doing my job. I got to be doing something else to make sure that my team has the ability to serve. They're the experts. But certainly lived experience allows me to...
I'm like, yeah, you're kind of an expert too.
Well, look, it helps me stay grounded and anchored in terms of what matters. And the truth is that I'll tell you, it was never in my life plan to come and do this work. I come from private industry. I spent 7 years as a strategist at Deloitte, and it was funny because, I was like, I made it. I'm living the white-collar American dream. Right? I come from a family where nobody had graduated from high school. Not only did I graduate from high school, I went on to college. I got 2 degrees, and I went on to the University of Michigan. Then I went to go work for this place called Deloitte. And I said, this is good. I like this. And then, as we tend to do, we marry up. Right? And I married, shout out to my wife, who really keeps me grounded. And when we came back to
what they call that, by the way, ground? Is that what they're doing for us? They're grounding us?
That's what that's what she tells me when I get home after today.
I'm glad we have a word for it. That's what's going to be the voice in my head moving forward.
Like,
you know what? Thank you so much, babe, for keeping me grounded.
Yeah. When I get home today, she will tell me, I don't care what you were doing. I don't care who you were podcasting with. It's time to, load up the dishwasher and get to work because we've got 2 kids to raise.
Sounds like a good one, man. Sounds like a good one.
That's exactly. No, so, we were back and I was doing this work in private industry. And she said to me, look, that's fine if that's what you want to do, but when your kids ask you what you do for a living and why, you better have a dang good answer, right? And I didn't. And so when this came up, I said, okay, let's take all that privilege, let's take all that opportunity that has been given to me, and let's use it.
Earned. Yeah.
And use it for something that's going to matter. So here we are about 3 years later.
So when did you take over as CEO? 3 years ago?
Yeah, about 3 years ago.
So when I'm leaving my career, he's entering his new career. That's about the timestamp on that whole thing.
Yeah, and so my question, I want to lead you to questioning your leadership skills. How has that developed? Coming from a system, how has that helped you? Now in this organization, actually being, like you said, being on the ground floor, knowing what you know. How has that shaped your leadership?
Yeah, I think it's made me realize the value of people and team. As a leader, I think the most important thing we can do is to build a leadership team and build a team that aligns with your vision, that is out there doing the work because they believe in that work. And I think that's probably one of the most misunderstood things about leadership. It's not about you as the leader, it's about the people that surround you. And that's true when you're in foster care. The reason why you get to achieve some level of success is because of the people that surrounded you. And that certainly was my case.
You mentioned to us in our pre-production call that you said, I was in the system. That was a line you used. You said, my brother was in the system too. Yeah. And our outcomes aren't the same.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you're comfortable expanding on that.
Yeah, no, of course, I'm happy to. And I only do it because I think stories is what people respond to. And it hasn't always been easy to articulate, right? Because you go through this experience in the system and you go through, whatever traumas and circumstances get you there, and you try to close that chapter. So when I open it, I do it because there's a reason for it. And that reason is people understand what it means to be a child in the system. And for us, I often tell folks, it's a story of two brothers. You had a younger brother and an older brother. The younger brother was placed in a group home. The older brother was placed in a family-based setting with a foster parent. And the younger brother didn't graduate from high school. He can't keep a job. He's often unhoused. And, he actually just turned 30 yesterday. So at 30, he's wondering, when is life supposed to get a little better? Right? And then you've got the older brother who did graduate from high school, did go to college, and got to do all this cool stuff, and including getting to sit down with the two of you today and have this conversation. And what I tell people is, yes, I want to acknowledge that the two humans in this story are absolutely different humans, but so was their human experience, right? Fundamentally, the difference between my brother and I was that I was supported, right? And so that's what I remind folks when I have these conversations is, these kids, the 9,000 of them that are out there, they're our kids, and we have to support them.
When you say support, was it a family setting, actually getting love, like family love, or was it? Can you share a little bit about that? Yeah,
absolutely, and I'll sort of combine that with that anecdote with some statistics of what the system is today. There's only a home available for 1 in 4 kids in the system. That means that the rest are either in a group home or in another type of setting. What we've come to learn as a society and what evidence tells us is that the worst place that you can put a child is in an institutional setting. And the best place is in a family-based setting, right? Not just, families are not perfect, right? Everybody's got their challenges. We all have our complexities. But it brings a level of stability that institutions don't. And so that's what I mean by a family-based setting. It was 2 individuals who didn't have it in their life's plan to also perhaps parent at the age of 50, right? But they had plenty of room in their home, plenty of room in their heart, and to take a teen in and support that teen above and beyond what the minimum was, above and beyond the $19 a day that a child in foster care gets, right? Above and beyond the semester ends. Now where do you go? Right? You can still come home, even if you're not home, right? So that's what I mean, yeah.
I have a question, which is, how do I know if I'm a foster parent?
Yeah.
What is that? Is there a little voice in me that says I should do this? I should try this? Like, is it a certain setup that I have that makes me or puts me in a position to be a foster parent? Like, how do I know if I'm a foster parent?
That's a powerful question, especially when we use as a backdrop that statistic that there is only 1 home for every 4 kids. Fundamentally, we want to ask why that's the reason. I think the answer to that is you have to have patience. Because you have to think about, and I think the two of you have kids, and you know how complicated it is to deal with teenagers that have perhaps grown in the not the perfect home environment, but a supportive, a nurturing, a loving home environment. Imagine bringing in a child or a youth who hasn't. That takes some patience. And that for me, I think, is the biggest challenge, right? It's a child walks into that door. You're a stranger to them, and they've gone through a whole lot. So why should they?
It's the story I got, man. Go ahead.
How was it for you when you? How was it when you walked in that door?
Yeah.
How were you? Were you?
It was weird.
Scared? Were you?
It was weird. It was really weird because, first of all, I'll say my foster parents are white. I'm Latino. And Priscilla was talking about quinceañeras. I grew up in quinceañeras, and that's where I learned how all my dance moves are built.
Those good dance moves.
Stay tuned after the podcast. Luis is going to bust a move.
No, but I grew up in a different cultural context.
So you walk in this house.
I walk into this house with two individuals, highly educated, PhD, MDs, Harvard, business owners, white. And here I was with my mustache. I don't have it today, but I was a student at Mesa High School with a different sort of lens through life. They were, they were fine economically, and I had, come from a life of homelessness and economic challenges. So it was weird in almost the simplest of ways. And I'll give you an example. I remember sitting down with them to have dinner the first night, and they served me, I think it was stir fry, and then a cup of water. And I was so confused. And the reason I was confused is because, where I come from, you only drink water if you can't afford soda. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so there was this, fancy home, these fancy people. And
this is great, and all, but what is
What's
this?
with the water?
And then they served me so I was utterly confused. But that's
a funny little tidbit there.
But it's a small sort of glimpse into just even the small things that cultures may diverge on. Obviously, there were things that were more complicated. There were traumas. There were them. They weren't parents ever. So they didn't know what they're supposed to be doing either. Are we your friends? How do we guide you? How do we support you? How do we talk to you? How do we encourage you? So I think it was an interesting journey for all involved, and but at the end of the day, it was a relationship that was meaningful on both sides. My foster mom walked me down the aisle, right?
Wow.
Yeah. And so, they're still very much a part of my life.
Love it. Yeah. All right, man. You got some hard-hitting questions?
No, nothing hard-hitting. I mean, it's really just about, sharing the experience of, what it's like to walk in that house. I think that's, the questions I have are more like, trusting somebody, walking in their house. How did that go? I mean, that's another thing, too. You're in their house. I mean, these people, am I going to stay? I mean, how does that feel?
Yeah, I think that, can I piggyback on that, which is like for the first few days, is it kind of like you go up to the bedroom and you're like, I wonder how long this is going to last?
Yeah, that's what I guess.
Like you don't even believe it. You don't even let yourself believe it for a while.
The average number of times a kid in foster care will move placements is 5 times. And so you said it right, Steve, trust. Why should you get too comfortable? Why should you trust? And so I think that's what I mean by patience on both sides, right? You got to be patient, and I was lucky enough to stay there beyond 18, beyond 20 and 21, and so I recognize that not everybody will have that experience, but everybody should.
What does it take to change the system? I mean, we're living in an age now where daily it sounds like people are questioning things like, why are we doing it this way if we don't have to? And we're scratching our heads.
So I don't know if we can buy our way out of this problem. That's the thing, right?
We sure we can. If we can send $800 billion for wars.
You know
and
what?
machine
We've got
equipment.
a CEO here. Let's ask him.
Yeah, let's ask him. Okay. But I'm just saying, like, is a culture, if we've got money for
How do we fix
bombs,
it?
here,
Yeah.
talk to us about that.
Wow.
And
How do we
cue
fix
music.
the issue of child welfare in America?
Yes,
And
sir.
then he said $19
And
a
I
day.
have what, 30 seconds?
We're wrapping in 15.
in 15
actually.
seconds.
I'm just joking.
No,
Take
look.
your time.
No, look. It is a very complicated question. Fundamentally, the issues in the child welfare system are more deeply rooted than kids coming into care. It's a symptom of a bigger problem in our society. The vast majority of kids that come into the foster care system do so for neglect, which is deeply tied to poverty, right? And so there's a lot of complicated challenges there that I think smarter people are working on than me. But I do think that we can do things to move the needle. And
Love that.
And one of those things, I think, is to acknowledge that kids are not intended to be raised or supported or a part of institutions. Period. No matter how effective the government institution is.
Period.
Period.
Just
And full stop. Right. And so you talked about money. Look, the Department of Child Safety's annual budget is close to $1.3 billion a year. Okay. Would it change if it was 3, 4? I think they'd be able to do more, and outcomes might improve.
Well, there you go.
But the problem would still persist because it's a symptom. But at the end of the day, it takes an entire community. It takes a village. Like,
There it
that
is.
saying is couldn't be truer. The system played a role in my life, but so did my foster parents. And by the way, so did the high school counselors who first figured out that I was homeless, right? And so did the friend group that said, there's nobody to celebrate you, so let's celebrate you. It just takes a village.
Good. We ask everybody, you sit in board meetings week after week with your team and you're looking for things. You're always trying to make everything that you're doing at Friends of Foster Children better. Is there anything we can do to support you, either us or our audience? Like, what's needed?
Well, I think I'll answer that probably in 3 ways. I think the first way is, look, if you've got extra money, give it, because there are community organizations out there that are serving people that can't pay for the service, right, fundamentally. So if you've got extra money, give it to your local nonprofit. If you've got extra time, give it. Go become a court-appointed special advocate and go advocate for those children in front of a judge, because there's a scarcity here in Maricopa County. And if you've got extra bedrooms in your home and extra space in your heart, open both of those doors.
So, final, can I ask kind of a wind-down question, which is, and I probably should have asked this earlier after I asked you, how do I know if I'm a foster parent? Is this one of those things where people can see if it works for them? I wonder about the level of commitment, because what you hate to have is, a bunch of people who are like taking them in, this isn't for me, 3 weeks later, it's too hard for me. So what is the commitment like for somebody that usually elects into this process?
Yeah, I think the reality is that the commitment is one where it's tailored to the individual that's becoming a foster parent. So if for some reason there's a determination that it isn't a fit, whatever that might be, the government can't force you, the Samaritan, to keep somebody in your home you don't want to keep, right? So now we got to find a different home. But I think you touched on an important point, which is, if you even are thinking about it, give it a try. And maybe, just maybe, that kid will get to stay there for your whole life. And maybe, just maybe, you'll get to make a difference in that person's life.
And just maybe they'll graduate, grab a couple of degrees, go
Maybe,
on to work
just
for a
maybe.
big company, take over a really important entity as the CEO one day.
In podcasts with Steve and Matthew.
There it is.
And that's what I was going to. So before we leave, leave us with a little inspiration. There has to be somebody you've been in touch with in your time that has just far exceeded expectations, like yourself, have gone on to do amazing things. Can you share, if you want to share their name, or can you share a story of somebody that's been in the system that has just been lights out? That
You don't have the golden child
we
right
have
here?
him. We have him here, but he's got to tell a story of somebody that he knows.
Yeah. Stories, I believe, are a very personal, though powerful thing. I can tell the story my brother and I already have. Oftentimes, we tend in society to look at an individual and where they are in life as a sort of reflection of what they can be. But I don't think that's true. It's only a reflection of what we need to be in how we need to surround an individual. And in his mind, he's, when I look at him, he's resilient, he is kind, and he can be so many things. And I think he will be. But we're all on this trajectory in doing life at different paces. So the idea is to keep supporting them.
Yeah. I love that answer. That was as honest as you can get, too. I love that.
Louise, Friends of Foster Children. This is the CEO. Connect with them in some way, shape, or form. I think the three are always needed, right? Time, treasure, talent. Whatever you have, give it to an organization like that. We're going to come back, and we're going to sit down with Jamie from the Special Olympics of Arizona. I cannot wait to shake out this interview with her because there's so many exciting things happening at SO, and I think what happens behind closed doors at SO is going to blow people's minds.
What an exciting show. Just keeps
Keeps
going.
getting better, baby.
Keeps getting better.
Louise, thank you very much.
Thank you, Louise.
Yeah,
Take
appreciate you. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's episode number 20 of the Move the Needle podcast. And Steve was just letting us know off camera how many cups of coffee he would drink a day if he were to share some workspace here at the Kiln.
Yeah, they'd start charging.
It's bomb coffee.
Yeah, I mean, you just go right over and just,
Yeah.
It's fresh ground beans.
Let's get a fresh perspective. Because, we've had Priscilla on the show. We had Louise on the show. We didn't ask either one of them what they thought of the space. But I'll ask you, Jamie. Jamie's going to join us right now in our third segment. She's our Move the Needle interview. She works with the Special Olympics of Arizona. What is your role within the organization?
I'm the president and CEO.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She's the big dog. Come on, what did you think?
I love that. How long have you held that title?
It's been about 6 years now, but I've been with the organization almost 15.
Isn't this something? What do you think of this workspace?
It's phenomenal. I mean, just to see everybody kind of collaborating and just a place to go they can decorate and make it their own. It's really neat to have that. And, we'd experienced that with Special Olympics in the last 5 years. We actually got our own space. And so moving out of something that, isn't quite your own, but making it your own, it feels really important.
Okay, I want to talk about all of those things. For the do you listen to the Smartless podcast, by the way?
No.
Did you listen to the Smartless podcast, Steve?
No.
Okay. I want to set something up really quick. So in the Smartless podcast, Jason Bateman, Will Arnett, Sean Hayes. Sean Hayes has a sister that lives in Wisconsin, Tracy, and she doesn't know anything at all about the business. And so anytime they're going to explain something about the movie business, they say, break it down for Tracy, right? And so anytime they're going to talk insider, they say, explain it to us like we're Tracy. So I'm asking you to explain, what is Special Olympics for Tracy?
Okay.
Like, help all of us understand what is underneath that big, gigantic umbrella.
Yeah. A lot of people understand Special Olympics as a movement for those with intellectual disabilities. It really evolved into so much more. This will be our 50th birthday in Arizona. Been around a little bit longer than that across the United States. But now it is not just for individuals with intellectual disabilities to train and compete, but now their peers. So my son, your son, any of your kids can now join a program and actually compete with our athletes and get to experience the joy that they bring to life, which I think is so fun.
So you mix the groups and you're like, everybody have at it.
We do.
There's so much goodness there.
Yes, and it builds those bonds. I mean, our athletes were segregated for the longest time. I mean, if you go to schools and they have their classroom and you may never see them throughout the day. But now with some of our inclusive programming, they're seen. They're going to gym class together. They're in regular ed classes together. They're going out and competing together and building friendships, which I think is the most important part of this.
I think that's beautiful because I've always said that, unfortunately, they don't you don't grow up with a rule book. You know how to treat people. A lot of people want to engage. They want to be friends, and they don't know how. Again, there's no training involved, and here you go. You just putting them together where there's a common denominator, and just let life happen.
Right.
And I think that's a beautiful thing.
I think there's an innate fear in people, or just a fear of the unknown.
Yes.
I experienced that in my own life, having a disability and growing up in a very small town. And, by breaking down some of these barriers and bringing people together, there isn't that fear any longer. People are close. They're, doing things, getting out in the community and sharing their life and story and how they can be successful. So it's just...
Yeah, you hit the word, and I didn't say it. It's a fear. I mean, because you're not grown up. You're just, again, there's no book to say, hey, listen, if John or Jane look different, if this happens,
And to be fair, it's a fear that I might say the wrong thing. It's not always I'm scared of that person. It's I don't want to offend them. I don't want to hurt their feelings. I don't want to say the wrong thing.
That's why I didn't use the word fear, because I wasn't sure if that was the correct word. It's because it's just uncomfortable. It's an unknowing. It's just an unknowing. So I think it's beautiful actually that those walls have come down, and I call it blending the lines.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot more progressive in that space, which has been really good, right? It's become a lot less about, that's those people, or that's those guys over there, and there is this idea of well, let's include them, And I know a lot of people have their things to say about the DEI space, and I will tell you that I've spent a lot of time in this, and what the experts will say is just pick one letter. Mm-hmm. And this is about inclusion. Right. This is about bringing people in and giving them an opportunity to do the damn thing. Tell me what's wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that, right? Give me an opportunity.
Right. And a lot of our athletes, we call them athletes, that are part of our program, we're giving them opportunity to shine, whether that's, going to school and being a part of their classroom once they get in the community and they can have jobs, or, just help out with other organizations. Our athletes love to give back.
Yeah, there's so much more. I mean, it's self-empowerment. I found
yes.
it's self-belief.
Mm-hmm. Of course. So you guys have at the Special Olympics 4,000 events a year?
400 events a year.
Did I write down an extra zero?
It's okay.
400. You're like,
wow.
I can't handle that. So 400 events a year?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a significant amount. And what I thought there would be some value in is understanding some of your signature events. I'm guessing any big company, you've got, yes, there's 400, but there's probably 20 that are the juggernauts of the organization. Yeah.
Our athletes are required to train for 8 weeks, and then they can go to a competition.
Okay.
Our large competitions are our state competitions, and we host 5 of those a year. We just had 3 in the fall, and this spring we'll have 2 more. We kick off in March with our state basketball and cheerleading competition out in East Mesa. That is by far our largest competition of the year. And then we kind of wrap up our season a little bit in April with our summer games, which will be held in Glendale, and we do track and field, powerlifting, and volleyball.
One of the coolest things that I ever experienced in my life was a visually impaired athlete doing the long jump. And it was the most incredible thing that you can imagine, because, they're running next to a guide first and foremost. So they know where to go. But at a certain point, the guide peels off, and they have to then execute the jump. And they're listening to a coach who's making these sounds, typically a clap or a ba, ba, ba. And based on this thing, they know that moment where they have to do the plop, plop, jump. And I mean, they just slayed it. And it was so freaking inspiring to watch people overcome barriers, because I think that's what, at its essence, that's what connects us to these athletes, is we see them overcoming an obstacle, and it inspires us to want to do the same damn thing.
I think that's you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
And our athletes are so talented, and being able to share those talents with the world, and maybe they do it a little differently, and that's okay. But that is, it's true sportsmanship, true talent, just to see them compete.
One of my greatest joys in my radio career, Steve, was I got to participate at the Putt Challenge, which is at the Waste Management Phoenix Open. And so Special Olympics, every year they assemble 18 different golfers, and these golfers are serious. They take, this is a very serious thing. You know what I'm saying, right?
Very.
It's a very
They
serious.
want to win.
Dude, they're no different than the golfers on the tour. They want to win. And in this putt challenge, the guy that I was working with, man, he was reading my putts for me, and he was fixing my aim all the time. And he had so much to say about the subject. And I loved every single minute of it. It was so cool. And it was such a great event because, there's like little nobody right here, me. But then right next to me, Michael Phelps was playing with somebody. And then Fitzgerald, I think, was down the hall.
Probably.
I mean, there was like all these incredible personalities there to lend their time and talent to this event. It was just really awesome.
A couple of years ago, we had the opportunity to select an athlete to go play hole 16 as a part of the tournament. And so Amy Bacher-Study, if you've ever seen
Amy?
coverage
She
on
got
her.
it?
Yep. So that was...
Of course she did.
Yeah, she did. And she was able to play with Gary Woodland on that hole.
Yeah, they have a whole cool thing now.
They do. It's amazing, their relationship.
So exciting.
Yeah, it is the best. Okay, so the 400 events, they require a robust team to get things done. One of the things that I wanted to spend some time with, especially as we encroach on your 50th anniversary,
Yes.
is how what kind of volunteers are you looking for? Like when you said in our pre-production call that you need 20,000 volunteers a year, I was like, oh my God, how do you even get there? So how do I know if I should volunteer for the Special Olympics of Arizona?
If you want to be a part, come out. You don't need skills in order to be a volunteer for Special Olympics. We have day of volunteer opportunities so people can come out and literally time an athlete that day. You'll get training on site. We make sure that you have what you need, but it's very, very basic. And then we have roles that are a little bit elevated as far as coaching. So if you have, I know you talked about hockey earlier, and if you had an opportunity where you were proficient in a sport or had a little bit more expertise.
Do you have a sled hockey team?
We don't have sled hockey, but we have floor hockey.
Dude, you should
Kind
call
of
it
similar.
floor hockey.
Sure.
Yeah,
I'd love it.
that would be fantastic.
You'd be awesome at it, Steve.
Sign me up.
Okay.
You would be awesome at it.
I love that.
8 weeks of training, and then our athletes get to go compete, and they have the
Look
best
at the
time.
fire in his eyes. Can you see it, Max? Did we
I'm
get
one
a
of those
zoom in?
guys,
on-
I'm the coach to win, so that's I love
Our
that.
athletes want to win.
I know,
so
I
Anything
love
else,
it. What you're
man.
saying is getting my juice from. No, I seriously, I'd be interested in that.
Okay.
All right, this is
Seriously.
good. We now only need 19,999. So, fantastic lineup happening right now. What's the bright spot of the Special Olympics right now? What's the one thing you guys are putting out there into the community you'd like us to spend a little time talking about?
Oh, well, around our 50th anniversary, we're going to be doing some promotion 50 for 50 to do some fundraising campaigns, but also to connect with the community a little bit more and get our message out there, because I think there's still this idea that Special Olympics is only one time of year to do a track and field meet, and we are so much more than that. And so kind of just getting our marketing, our name out there, explain to people what we're doing and how many opportunities there are for people to get involved. If a child wants to be a part of the program, a sibling, anybody that's just in the community that wants to give back. That's what we're looking for.
And this is all on the website, just Special Olympics of Arizona. They can find all this volunteering. Everything you talk about coaching is on the website.
Yes.
There's not a number to call. You suggest go to the website.
So we have specialolympicsArizona.org, or we do have a phone number people can call, 602-230-1200.
Either way.
Either way. Okay, one of the other questions that I wanted to ask is some of the guts of the Special Olympics of Arizona, things that people might not know happen, right? Like we know about the big premier events because we just talked about those. There's health screenings. Let's speak on that a little bit. This is something that people might be surprised to know that you provide.
To see our athletes compete, we want to serve them holistically. And a part of that is making sure that they're healthy and able to compete. And so we've partnered with a lot of local universities or hospitals in order to get clinicians to come out and give their time. So we do a quick training on how to work with individuals with intellectual disabilities, and then they show up to our competition. Take away the white lab coat, take away kind of the scariness of going to a doctor's office. we bring them to the competition. And so they're in a gym, they're in t-shirts, and our athletes get to rotate around and see doctors for different areas of expertise. Could be getting their eyes checked, getting their teeth checked, checking out their feet, making sure they have appropriate footwear. And at the end of the day, we can provide free prescription glasses. We're buying refurbished hearing aids for our athletes, just making sure that they have everything they need to be the best possible athlete.
Isn't that incredible? What else is on that menu of things that you provide that people would be surprised by?
Well, one of the things that you were part of, Mathew, a couple years ago, we do have an athlete leadership program. And I know you did some media training for our athletes. But
So fun.
our athletes are great at telling their story. And who better to get out there in the community and, go speak to a company. Maybe they're talking to the media. And that's really important for us to give them the tools necessary so they can share that.
And it was just simple stuff too, like how to hold a microphone, or what to say into it, or what to do when you mess up. Like, it was just all this really basic stuff, but they loved it. And we stayed on the phone with those guys for so long, just asking questions. It was such a rad morning.
Yeah. Well, I know you have a story to share about.
We have to get this sponsored, by the way, Max.
Yeah.
I've decided we have to get the question of give me the story of inspiration.
Yes.
I'm not even
Yes,
joking.
yes.
We should be there should be a halo that comes over his head, a bright light that comes on.
Well, 'cause we're gonna-
a sponsor that comes on.
Because I sense when we're trying to wrap up, I'm not going to let you wrap
You
up
can't.
without that, because I know Jamie has that athlete in mind.
Hell yes,
that
she does.
Rudy story, the athlete that really shouldn't have made it, that got in the game. And
You want the
everybody's
Rudy story?
just
You want the Rudy story?
Yeah, I want
Yeah.
the Rudy story. Come on, for the crowd. You've got him. You've got him.
We have so many stories, but I think one that stands out, this one's a little bit further in the past, but we had an athlete that used a wheelchair for mobility. And a part of our unified program during training, their partner or somebody without an intellectual disability would actually get out on the track and help them out of their chair. And whether he was in a walker or something else, they would walk with him during his race, because he was trying to build up endurance to walk across stage at graduation. And we ended up going to graduation, and he did, in fact, walk across stage at graduation.
Come on.
I know.
All of his friends around cheering him on, and just
What a
shows you the
moment.
power.
What
a
a
moment,
moment. I mean,
right?
gosh, yeah. Lifetime moment.
Yes. Very
What's
much.
next for Special Olympics of Arizona? Where do you want to go?
So we were looking at growth. We dropped a lot of numbers during COVID just because we didn't have connection with our families. And so now we're trying to rebuild, continuously rebuild and exceed what we did previously. So right now we're at 16,000 athletes across the state. Our goal is to get to 25,000 by 2027.
Who should call you? Who should engage, right? Like what you mentioned up front, like intellectual disabilities, that's not the thing. It's not just that one dimensional anymore. It's a bigger, wider door. So who comes through the door? What is the.
It's literally from mom and dad trying to get their son, daughter involved, all the way up to a school that maybe wants to get their entire program engaged in what we do. We're looking for anybody that wants to be a part of this movement. And I know you mentioned Brophy earlier during our chat.
Yeah.
And, they don't have a special needs population on campus, but they develop an event on campus where they bring students in and they set up activities and they walk around with all those athletes, so they get to experience it too. So it is not exclusive to.
Love that.
Right. It's phenomenal.
It doesn't have to look like we think it does.
Correct.
Yeah. And that's kind of the message overwhelming or overarching theme. It's like, it's not what you think it is.
Right.
Yeah.
It's evolved so much.
Huh. All right. And we're going to hang out as a CEO for another 6 years. You think you got it in you?
I think longer. I think this is her dream.
Yeah?
This is her dream job.
Is
Come
this the
on.
long run? Is this
I love what I get to do.
Yeah.
The athletes have become my friends. They've become my family.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah. And my son's grown up in this. He's 13, and, a couple summers ago, we had a USA team going for basketball to Berlin, Germany, and we got invited out to be a part of the practices. And so watching him practice with our athletes and getting to experience that, there's no cooler event that you could ever see.
So let me answer a question. Our 10-year anniversary for the podcast We'll have Jamie on. She's
do it.
Yeah, she's still. Yeah, so she's going to be there for the long.
All right,
Love
put
to
it-
come back.
Put it in the books. Thank you very much, Jamie.
Thank you.
Such a pleasure to meet you
Yes.
and to learn more about the Special Olympics of Arizona. We'll encourage everybody to check out their website, which we'll link to in our show notes so that you can find it super easy. Thanks to Luis from our Friends of Foster Children. Then, of course, Priscilla, man, my buddy P.
Yeah,
It was
first time
so
you've
fun.
seen her. Yeah.
It's it's not the first time I've seen it, but it's the first time we put a microphone in front of our mouths and started talking into it again, which was totally a trip.
loved that.
Yeah, I did too, actually.
What a great show. Really was a
Lot of fun.
A lot of info.
Next week is going to be a banger, as the kids say. We've got Jill McMahon, who's written a brand new book out called Bulletproof.
That's this week, by the way. Don't
That's
skip
our
the
next
week.
show.
Next 2 days from now, Thursday. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be next week.
Yeah, next week.
Steve's not sure how this whole thing works.
Yeah, sorry. I don't work in that department. Sorry.
So what we do, Steve, is we record twice a week,
I
but we
gotcha.
only re-release once a week.
Okay, gotcha.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So, gotcha.
So Joe McMahon.
I just show up. Yeah. Thank
Joe
you.
McMahon's going to be on. We're going to have my buddy, Dr. Robert Todd Hurst. He's going to talk to us about longevity. And then, of course, Kelsey Lamper from the city of Scottsdale, and she's in their adaptive recreational space. And so, I don't know, do you know, Kelsey, is there a small circle that you all probably run into because you guys are going after a similar demographic?
Yeah, they actually participate with us. So
Get it. All right, cool.
Well, we could talk to her about that too as
Yeah,
well.
she'll
Love
know
it.
all about it. Thanks again, Jamie.
thank
Thanks,
you.
Jamie.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Matthew.
Yeah,
great
appreciate
great
it.
show.
Great job, guys. We'll see you next week.